Welcome to day 2 of Congress CIRCOM. I'm glad that you made it, at least some of you. It's really nice to be here again. Once again, congratulations to all the winners. And if some of you would like to meet with the winners, we invite you to the 1C hall. They're going to be there at 10 o'clock, so you can congratulate them by yourself. And we, of course, continue our discussion and exchange of journalistic experiences. My name is Małgorzata Dzieciniak, and it's such a pleasure for me to be here with you again. Our next session is about the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine began on February 2022, as you all know, and I'm sure you've all followed the front lines more than once. Journalists are behind every one of these reports. And how to manage teams under emotional and physical pressure during the war? That's the question to our guest. And here they are, Mrs. Mariya Frej, board member of the Suspline, only public television station in Ukraine, and also Alla Skorik, editor-in-chief, Northeast GSC, PBS of Ukraine. So I'm going to invite to the stage Mrs. Mariya Frej. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Hello. I will start my presentation with my personal story. I would like to say that I'm very originally ordinary Ukrainian citizen. I'm originally from Mariupol, and now I'm twice displaced person inside of my country. My parents' home is destroyed. My kindergarten, my school, even the faculty of my university doesn't exist anymore. And this looks like a pile of garbage and trash for me now. And all of my life, previous life, 30 years of my life, now exist only in my memories. Is my story unique for the world? I don't think so. Being in Poland right now, it's very hard to imagine that these streets were once occupied by Soviet authorities. And intellectuals were deported and killed in prisons. Could this happen again? It's already happened. It's happened on occupied territories in Ukraine. I choose to stay in Ukraine not because I'm very brave or even I'm very smart. I choose to stay because there is something that's beyond our control. And during the war, you as a leader have to manage mostly these very uncontrollable aspects of human being, more than all the other rational processes. I hope that this presentation will give you some answers to be ready for the future that is still possible because of the enemy that is near to European borders, because of the Russian Empire. So in these turbulent times, we as a company and you as leaders have to remember about the 3 main directions. You have to support your people, you have to manage the content, and lastly, you have to think about the distribution. So, as I was the person who was the first in our reserve center of broadcasting in Lviv region, the first thing that I was thinking about is people. We have to be ready for this scenario of full-scale invasion before it started. So we try to provide some trainings for our journalists and also some training for our administrative staff. During the war, we continue this work and we pay a lot of attention about the physical safety of our teams. We think about the protective equipment that you can see here, about some safe accommodation in every regional offices, and also about the possibility for relocation for our teams. On this first picture, you see the chief editor of Kharkiv region. This person is right now in Kharkiv and he will not go out from Kharkiv, even if something very bad will happen. And a lot of teams will have to relocate from their native cities, and we have to provide them very simple things: home, food, clothes, and so on. After the full-scale invasion started in 2022, we also have to think about the mental health of our people. I'm, as a war reporter from 2014-2015, as war started in Ukraine in 2014 with occupation of Crimea and my native region, Donetsk and Lugansk, I was the person who struggled to find a psychologist to have this special support for people who are traumatized by their everyday work. And I was lucky because I found this one person in Ukraine, and he was from armed forces. In 2022, we managed to find the network of psychologists that provided psychological support for our journalists across the country. Then we hired one specialist. The main task of this person was to raise awareness about the necessity of psychological support and regular check-ins. What about the trainings and ethical guidelines? It's also connected to your people, to your team who produce the content. You have to train them to be ready how to work on the front line, because you never know which city will become a front line next day. Even in safer regions, Lviv, the western part of Ukraine, sometimes there's shelling and bombing, and all of our journalists have to be ready to report from the streets with understanding all of the dangers around. And we also pay a lot of attention to strengthen the importance of ethical journalism as well. And the third direction about people, and it's all the time surprised our audience when we talk about this. This is diversity, equity, and inclusion principles. From the very beginning, we try to help people with disabilities to understand our content through the different platforms. And now we can say that we are pretty good at this work. We try to represent diversity of voices and diversity of perspectives. We also try to organize equal access to tasks and resources, and we try to make an inclusive work environment. As the war actually quickly changed the world to the old patriarchy, fighting for the rights, women's rights and LGBTQ+ rights is crucially important because we are fighting for the democracy values. We also pay attention to our national minorities across the countries. We produce content for people into different languages. Maybe you know that during the Soviet occupation, national minorities was one of the instruments for Russian propaganda across the world. And during the full-scale invasion, we saw a lot of disinformation campaigns that were aimed to work with national minorities. That is why we produce a lot of explainers and news on Hungarian, Romanian, and other languages as well in Ukraine. And the last thing that I would like to mention in this part of work about diversity, equity, and inclusion is about the gender rights and about women's rights. Despite the mobilization processes, media is still mostly led by men, who used to solve their problems in restaurants after the work. And they don't want to discuss some working issues with women colleagues during the working day. And the women leaders has to make this choice every day to spend some time with their families after work or to go to the pub and restaurants to become a part of these decision-making processes. As a member of the managing board, I know what I'm talking about. However, understanding the difficulties of martial law right now in Ukraine, we understand that our company will probably become a women company in a few years. Right now we have 55% of women employers inside of the company. And they think that in 2 years we will have 75. We start our work with women. We teach them how to become engineers in control rooms, cameramen, and other traditional man professions. Let's go for the second very important part that you have to pay attention during the conflicts, during the war and other crises. It's content. Here we have to ensure the accuracy and integrity. And I'm talking about the factual journalism, that you have to robust fact-checking, you have to use reliable sources, and you have to provide the right context for your audience. We're talking about the sensitive journalism, about respecting the dignity and avoiding of censorism. And we're talking about the balanced journalism. This is the interesting point, because during the war you think that there is only one voice inside of the country. But Ukrainian practices and tradition does not allow to make just only one voice. We have a lot of different opinions. We have a freedom of speech in our country, and we have a lot of discussion about how to win this war, actually. And human journalism. I think that this is the most important during the war, especially when we're talking about the regional broadcasters, because regional teams, they are actually the most closer to the audiences, and they have to stay human even during the war. We try to produce a lot of human stories to connect with audiences emotionally and to raise awareness and support. And the last direction, and it's possible to pay attention only after the first two, people and content. It's about distribution, about the reaching and engaging the audiences. For Ukraine, it was clear, even during the COVID, that regional TV will not exist anymore. During the war, it became a statement and fact. Regional TV station is not able to produce everyday TV content because of the lot of problems and a lot of reasons. So multi-platform approach, this is only one way how to survive with regional teams. We're talking here about the different media platforms and especially in our case, collaboration between media. I will tell you a little bit about the TV. Maybe you know that after the full-scale invasion started in Ukraine, according to the martial law, we opened the United Informational Platform that will produce informational content for wider audiences. This platform, it was like a work of different, very popular TV stations before the war, and they united their resources to make an everyday informational programming for all of the audiences. And during the 2022 and 2023, it was a good instrument to communicate with wide audiences. But in 2024, this instrument became more politicized, and there were a lot of problems with different political views, as you can understand what I'm talking about. And our company, as a public broadcaster, strived to get out from this platform. And previous week, we were succeed with this, and right now we have all of our platform, and we are able to produce our informational programming absolutely independently. Radio. During the first months of full-scale invasion, the old technologies of broadcasting radio were something that were able to hear in occupied territories. People were able to find our radio stations and to hear some voices from Ukraine. Because where there is no information about Ukraine, this is the most dangerous situation for our audiences. Digital platforms, online social networks. Can you imagine how to make a media without electricity? We know how to do it. And my team and my colleague Alla will tell you the real story, how to do it. And I can tell you that when there is no electricity, people still try to connect with their mobile phones. They try to find some short information about their communities, about the situation in Ukraine. So your journalists, your editors, your people have to produce multimedia content. Content is crucial. Platform is an instrument. And also, because of the war, we rethink the role of regional broadcasting as well. Can you imagine the situation that once Poznan will become a capital of Poland, of broadcasting something? Can you understand how to build a strong system to be able to produce and broadcast content from the different part of country? We developed this system, and right now we have several cities in Ukraine from which we are able to broadcast informational programming across the country. We didn't do it from Kyiv right now. Kyiv is not a capital for our broadcasting system anymore. So this is the huge opportunity and huge responsibility for regional broadcasters to be ready to become a national platform. We made this, and right now we have a resource center in our western part of Ukraine, and even we have alternative resource center if something will happen in Lviv, for example. So the second part that you have to pay attention in distribution is work with tech platforms and also to have a great partnership with a lot of production teams that produce anti-disinformation products for your communities, for your audiences. We are not able to produce such great content, so we have a partnership with different media production teams and NGOs that provide us with beautiful examples of how to recognize the fakes, how to understand what is deep fakes. So we have a lot of content connected to these topics. And the third part of distribution, this is not a mistake, this is a real part of distribution, and this is a part that I would like to name community involvement. It's crucial to remember that personal contact with your audience is very important during the war. In 2022, we managed to visit 50 different communities personally, to talk with people, not the places where we walk, the places, the small cities and small villages in regions, just to make this personal contact with people who would like to receive information from us. During 2023 until 2024-5, we will have more than 150 offline meetings in communities with people who live in these small gromadas, small cities. We also developed our hyper-local network of journalists. In our country, it's impossible to create a strong business model for community media. That is why we understand that we need just a journalist from community who will work with us and who will provide for us a lot of information about the everyday life in this community. So this is one of our approaches to have offline interaction with your media. In the era of informational tunnels, there is only one way to catch your people, just to come to their native cities and to meet them and to talk with them personally. So we do this work as well. This is an interesting quote that I would like to share with you here. During the previous week, we have an International Lviv Media Forum in Ukraine, and Henry Thomas Marsh, the British neurosurgeon and author, say this quote about Ukraine. Because if you will be able to come to Lviv or other cities in our country, you will see that life is actually pretty normal. But in every small signs, you will understand that there is a lot of death, and death is actually everywhere. I would like to finish my presentation with a small video about our work and our team. I have to apologize because this was made by our marketing team and it could look like an advertiser of our work, but still, the main important that this is a video about our people and how they struggle to continue their work during the war. Oh, if it's possible, please play the video. They will do it.
live presentation. Oh, to sekund. Ten drugi folder, tu na 115, jakbyś kliknął, zobaczył. Tu na 115, Barbara.
Nie, no. This one.
Jednak nie. Cofnij.
Press here.
Jednak pierwszy. Nie. Is that it? So.
Can you air the presentation and then just press the play button?
Oh.
Yes, the last slide. Oh, and press the button.
There is no video.
Okay, it's not playing. Okay.
It's sorry.
I'm sorry, you will not see advertising about our team, but I still hope that Allah will provide, or you will, yes.
Suspline Ukraine, an independent media company with huge national coverage on television, radio and digital media. Round-the-clock news trusted by 84% of our audience. Country's largest network of local journalists. Over 10 million subscriptions on social media platforms, both national and local. Major projects in 2023. History documentaries that help revisit the past to avoid mistakes in the future. Projects about people who are fighting for Ukraine and have chosen the path of freedom, whose unbreakable spirit is admired by the whole world. Documentaries about those who are upholding human rights. Investigations of Russia's war crimes. Projects about the scars of the war. The horrors Ukrainians face every day. We keep unique records. We spread the word about our culture, from legendary Smerichka and radio hits of the past to trendy comic strips and modern artists. We unite Ukrainians all over the world around our language, songs, and sports. We keep laughing to carry on and stay optimistic. We care about our youngest, helping them to feel safe and be brave. We thank you for your help and appreciation of our work. Defending freedoms in Ukraine. Suspline Ukraine.
Thank you.